Hi, I'm Josh.
And I'm Cara.
And you know what they say? Time is money. So let's start the show.
Hello and welcome to the Cultural Creative Industries TV, or CCI TV for short. We are the students on the television and broadcasting course here at the University of Portsmouth. And in today's show, we're going to investigate and question what we refer to as the economy.
Recently, there has been a lot of talk of a financial crisis rising in the UK. Barely a day goes by without there being some sort of discussion concerning our economy. But before we all panic, we have to ask, what is the economy, what are its origins, and when did we start trading? Here's what's coming up in today's show. Our CCI News anchor Sam Freebody takes a trip to the library to understand more about British trade history.
We'll be finding out if your favourite brands are worth it with our game Price Crunch.
And finally, we'll be debating the question, are we finally coming out of austerity? There's so much on today's show you do not want to miss.
But first, remember to stay in touch with us on Twitter at CCI TV.
Or you can find us on Facebook by searching CCI TV. Both links should be on your screen now.
Now recently we've heard quite a lot about the economy on TV. So we're here to clear up any questions that you may have and show you that it may not all be doom and gloom as we've been told.
Yes, if you're wondering what economy actually stands for, here is the definition. It's the state of a country or region in terms of the production and consumption of goods and services and the supply of money.
The economy today is all about the concept of money. Standard welfare depended on people's produce and trading with others. But did you know that before money, the main form of exchange was trade?
I'll have to admit, I didn't, and I believe that our CCI News team have some insightful knowledge about the history of trade and money. So let's head over to Madison and Sam in the CCI studio.
Thank you guys. I'm Madison Young. Here on CCI News, we ensure you're filled with knowledge about the history of trade by the end of this segment. I have my co-anchor Sam Freebody waiting in our state-of-the-art studio to give you at home a brief history lesson about the economy. Sam?
Hello everyone, I'm Sam, and let's take a step back through time. Let's start in the early 19th century, where the main items that were used to trade were exotic spices and silk within Arabia. Arabia was one of the main trading hubs in the 19th century. As more empires rose, more trading was evident. The Silk Road was established between China, India, Persia, and the Roman Empire. But what about England? How did trade work in, let's say, medieval times? Well, in medieval England, the backbone of the economy was the wool trade. It was a huge business with a huge demand, which could be jotted down on a supply and demand graph which is still used today. Wool and sheep would be how someone would measure their worth in the Middle Ages, and monarchs like Edward I were the first to tax the wool trade. Britain had a huge export of wool, as it possessed one of the largest wool mills in the world during the Victorian era. Trade was all good, but as more and more people began to use currency instead of trading objects, new innovations were developed, such as the invention of the charge-it card by John Biggins, now more commonly known as the credit card. This led on to the idea of using one currency to stabilise the economy in 1991. This is when the euro was introduced to the countries within the European Union. Then, in 1997, it was introduced as the single currency of the EU countries. However, the Prime Minister of the UK at the time rejected this, as the euro did not meet the 5 economic tests. And finally, in 2008, you were then able to pay for things using contactless payment cards. And it's gone on to bring about so many new ways to buy things. For example, you can now pay through your phone and contactless wristbands. The whole timeline has been long, but the development of money from then to today has been massive. That's all from me for now. I'll hand it back to you, Madison.
Thanks, Sam. It's such a big jump from measuring someone's worth in wool to using wristbands and rings to pay for items. We have come a long way, but it's exciting to see what new innovations may still come about. Hopefully now you have a great insight into how the economy came about. We're going to send you back downstairs where Josh and Cara are going to talk to you guys about the UK economy right now.
Cheers guys, and as you can see, money and trade has evolved over many years, from the first coin in 600 BC to contactless wristbands in 2018. But what I'd like to know is, why is the UK so important? We're a tiny island, surely we aren't that significant.
Well, Josh, to answer some of your questions, Sam took it into his own hands and did some research at the University of Portsmouth Library. Take a look.
Josh and Cara have sent me here to the University of Portsmouth Library to learn more about how the UK is special in terms of economy. Let's go inside. So you're probably thinking, why is Great Britain so special in terms of economy? Well, let's take a look back in history. Back to the 18th century, to be exact. Back in the late 18th century sparked a huge change for life in Great Britain. This was known as the Industrial Revolution. This is where the manufacturing industry transformed from home-based businesses and trade to the rise of large factories and mills. With the rapid development of technology at this time saw that factories and mills could produce numerous products very quickly. This meant that the more products that could be made and sold equaled in all of the production companies and the British society having more money in the economy. Now, let's take a look at some of the brilliant advancements of the Industrial Revolution. The most profitable development Britain made during the late 18th century was metal. Wares that were exported internationally increased the stream of wealth into the economy of Great Britain. The copper, steel and iron industries in particular played a rather important role in the expansion of transport networks across the country. With the Industrial Revolution starting over here before dispersing to other countries around the world, Great Britain was the leading commercial nation for profitable mass-produced goods at the time. This head start allowed the British economy to flourish and become the most influential and most powerful country in the world at the time. Needless to say, I learned a lot today and hopefully you did too. Back to Cara and Josh in the studio.
Thanks to Sam's research, it's clear that the Industrial Revolution was a pinnacle point in the UK economy. During this period in time, the UK was one of the world's leading exporters and traders, which resulted in the expansion of the British Empire.
Money, 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 the thing that makes the world go round.
It sure does, but some people find it hard to keep hold of their money and save for important things like a new bike, petrol for your car, or maybe the latest smartphone.
Well, stay tuned as we will show you tips and tricks on how the people of Portsmouth save their money.
But first, we're going to play a quick game to see if some members of our studio audience can tell the difference between a selection of branded and unbranded products. Let's play. Let's have a hand for our guests.
Right, so could you please introduce yourselves?
I'm Declan.
Hello, Declan.
And I'm Colby.
Colby. Thank
Well,
you
guys,
so much.
welcome to Price Crunch. So I'm assuming that both of you will have bought branded and unbranded products at supermarkets before.
Yeah.
And obviously you can tell because of the packaging, it's very obvious. But we're going to see if you can determine the difference based on just the taste.
Okay.
So I've got 3 foods for you, 2 of which one will be branded, one will be unbranded. And Cara, you're going to be joining in as well.
Amazing.
You're going to try and
So
see if you can
excited.
determine which is which. Okay. So we're going to start off with chocolates.
Oh, ideal.
Good start.
Great.
Here we go.
Oh.
Okay. So
Amazing.
we've got our chocolate here. If you guys want to take a piece of chocolate A,
Just this one here, yeah?
yep. Take a piece. Have a nice
A really
taste.
big bit here, but that's fine.
What do we think so far?
It's tasting nice.
I really
Tasting
like
good, yeah?
This tastes like the chocolate I would normally buy. Yeah.
Yeah. And would you buy normally branded chocolate?
Yeah, probably, because it's like a brand that I like and tend to stick to. But I'm not too picky with chocolate, to be fair.
What about you guys? What do you think?
I tend to go for the more branded chocolate, yeah.
that. I tend to buy branded chocolate, but I'm not bothered really what brand, just whichever one's like on offer or something in the supermarket.
Yeah.
I just tend not to buy the non-branded kind of shop's own.
Oh, okay then. So you will buy for the quality then, assuming that the brand is what the quality is.
Yeah, because you assume that the brands specialise in that, in making that, whereas the shop kind of do everything. So you know what you're getting with branded chocolate, I guess.
Yeah,
fair enough.
I feel like you can taste the difference with chocolate, like especially like advent calendar chocolate. Sometimes they have that like soapy taste. You know, it's like it's all right, it's chocolate, I'll eat it, but like, yeah, I think you can tell the difference. I prefer branded chocolate. I think it's more milky and more like cocoa.
Oh, okay then. All right. Well, let's see what you think of chocolate B then. If you guys want to take a piece
After you guys again.
of our second chocolate,
Oh, you got a nice small one again.
we'll see if there's any difference in the taste. Obviously, visually, very similar, but taste-wise,
Not different in a way that I don't like it, but different in a way where it's not as like milky.
Yeah.
oh, okay.
I think.
I think it's got a
It's still
different
nice.
aftertaste.
Oh, it's got an aftertaste. A good aftertaste or a bad aftertaste?
Worse than A.
Worse than A.
Yeah, in my opinion.
I agree with that.
So what do you
You can
think?
get an aftertaste with chocolate, but not really with these chocolates, I don't think.
Okay.
But do you think that then the taste is an indication of which is branded and which is unbranded?
I'd assume so, yeah.
So
I'd
which
say
do you
the
think?
richer taste would be the branded one, which I think is A.
Do you want to
I've
go with
actually
A?
got a bit of an aftertaste now, you know.
I'd
Yeah,
say
I can
A is
tell,
the
but I think
branded.
that's from the second one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So are we all in agreement on A being the branded one?
Yeah.
I think so.
You are correct. A is the branded
There we
chocolate.
go.
Good job on that one, guys. Okay, we'll move on to our second food. We've got cereal.
Lovely.
I'm not
I
sure.
love cereal. Cereal's like one of those things where it's supposed to be for breakfast.
Yeah.
I love it, and I prefer it at night. I feel like because you're not supposed to have it like as a dinner. I really.
It's a meal that can be
It's so
enjoyed
nice.
at any time of the day.
Of course, of course.
Cool. All right, let's have a taste of A then. Take a bit of our cereal.
Be nice and crunchy.
Okay. That's nice.
Alright.
Nice.
It's
Yep.
quite sweet, which
Yeah.
is, I put that with being a branded one, because a lot of the non-branded ones
Yeah.
probably be a little more bland, I would say.
Oh, okay, yeah,
That's what I've kind of got used to.
yeah.
Yeah.
Are we all
No.
like people who eat cereal? Because I
Yeah.
feel like people who eat cereal tend to know which ones they like, and also in
Yeah.
terms of being branded and unbranded, there is a difference.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I tend to always buy branded cereal, not because I necessarily think it's better, but it is just that pattern, what I'm used to. Like it just, if I know that I'm going in there for a particular product, I will just go for the one that I always.
Yeah. What about you
always
guys? Will
know.
you always go branded or unbranded? Obviously, it depends on the product, but
I've always gone branded, personally. I've never had an interest for unbranded. I think it's because like I never really looked for it. It's more like, you know, branded ones do stand out. You go for them. My taste is more branded, I guess you could say.
okay.
Yeah, I'd probably say the same with cereal, especially. You kind of know what you're getting. It's like the packaging. You kind of know from the adverts that it's going to be good for fibre and stuff like that. So I'd probably
enough, yeah.
always go
Least you
for
think about
branded.
Yeah, getting all the goodness from
Yeah,
the cereal.
exactly.
I'll say taste note.
That'll
Yeah.
do.
I'll have it, yeah.
Let's have a taste of cereal B. See if there's any difference there. Make
Taking
sure you
loads
got a piece.
there.
There we go. I mean, to be fair, you could take a whole handful if you want.
Yeah, I should have actually.
I mean, it's free food, so
Honestly, I can't tell a difference.
can't tell a difference there at
No.
all.
I would say the
Not
same.
really.
Yeah, I'd say the same.
I think that's slightly more sweeter, which I thought that one was sweet, but I think that's even sweeter.
And would
Yeah,
you say
I'd
the
agree
sweet
with that.
one is the branded one?
I would normally put my money on that, yeah.
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 Because you think that they're going to probably spend more money specialising in getting it tastier
Yeah.
than the non-branded one.
Yeah.
True. True.
Yeah.
That's what you would suspect. I agree. I think they're both quite sugary, but the second one's like a different kind of sugary taste.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think from my experience, if the cereal tastes sweeter or if it has like fruit in it or something
Yeah.
added, generally it means it's more expensive and therefore it's branded.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
So,
agree.
Okay.
yeah. Which one do we think is branded though?
I'm going to go for B.
You're going to go B?
I'm going to go B.
I'm going to go for B as well.
I'm going to go for A.
You're
Just
going to go
for
A. Well, I can reveal that they're both unbranded.
Oh,
Okay.
all right.
There's a trick on there.
Fair enough.
Yeah,
Try to
trick
test you
question.
out. But
There you
yeah,
go.
as you can
So-
see, not too much of a difference in the
Yeah.
taste anyway.
They're both nice as well.
Yeah.
Okay, final one. We're going with crisps. And I think visually, I'm not sure if we can see there on the camera, but visually, There is a difference here, so it might be an indication
Yeah, I
of which
agree.
is branded and unbranded. So
Yeah.
have a taste of
I'm just
A.
going to take this one.
Very crunchy. Nice though, loads of flavour.
Yeah. I mean, I can smell it just from here. So
Yeah, I can too.
Yeah, that's full of flavour, and it's got a nice crunch to it as well.
yeah.
Yeah, it's about the crunch with the crisps.
I think to be fair, I think it's more about the flavour. To be fair, I think if it's got a really good flavour, and you know it's something that is quite moreish, then that will tend to be a branded one.
Crisps is so moreish, like I can just eat a whole bag to myself, like Jimbo size.
Okay, let's have a taste of B.
Cool.
This little taster food.
Now, in comparison to the other foods that we've tried, I feel like there's going to be more of a difference with these ones.
Yeah, I feel like the taste is definitely stronger, the salt and vinegar taste in the first set of crisps.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
What do you guys think?
I agree with what Cara said, yeah.
Yeah.
I think there's more flavour in A than there is in B, but I prefer the texture in B of the crisp.
Okay.
As you said, it's not as crunchy. So I don't know which one's the branded one or not.
Yeah. Okay.
They seem to both have strong points.
I think A is the branded one.
All right, A. You're going A.
I think B is the branded one.
I'm going to go for A.
You're going to go A. Well, the correct answer is A. A is the branded crisp. Yeah. Well done, guys.
Yes, thank you
job.
so
Thank
much.
you.
You've got some free food as
Yeah,
well,
that's
some nice
great.
little
Yeah.
nibbles.
We've got free food.
Exactly.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
But I think it's clear from that that we can see that
Yeah.
between branded and unbranded products, there isn't always a difference in the taste, and therefore you're not always necessarily getting more for your money.
Yeah, well, it just goes to show that, you know, you don't have to buy branded things in the supermarket to get it for a good price. And just because certain products are branded doesn't necessarily mean that they are better. It can save you a lot of money in the long run.
Well, we decided to ask the public to see how they save money and find out some of their best money-saving tips. Let's see what they had to say.
I'm here today at Commercial Road to find out what the general public do to save money on a day-to-day basis. This is what they had to say. As a couple, how do you find saving money? Is one of you better than the other, or combined you do quite well?
I'm better than her at saving money.
Okay, so have you always been a very good saver?
Yeah, I always have, yeah.
I've only got 2 pence in my account at the moment.
I'm not so good. But when it comes to Christmas shopping, all this with Black Friday is now on for nearly 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Sometimes you can find some good bargains.
As soon as I get the money, I spend it.
Oh God.
And it's kind of like it goes within a few days.
Yeah.
You know, with bills and the main things like buying food and stuff like that.
You save like a third.
Yeah, every time I always set a goal of saving a third of any money that I get, sort of thing. So.
Oh wow,
Yeah,
that's
and
such a good
my
tip.
golden rule in life. That's what I
Yeah.
So.
Money, like food costs a lot more than I thought it does. So,
Yeah, it does, especially cheese.
Yeah.
I reckon it's harder now than it was back when I was a kid.
Yeah.
It's very hard to save up because most people are doing like I know, doing 2 jobs because of all the inflation
Yeah.
and all stuff like that.
Last year we went to Thailand, didn't we, in the summer sort of thing. So
Amazing.
we saved up for that, and the saving obviously had a good reward.
Yeah.
Sort of thing, so
Yeah, definitely.
it's well worth it.
Once you buy a house, you're in, you're much easier to save.
Yeah.
You don't have to worry about paying for where you live, sort of
Yeah.
thing.
Try to save, even if it's just a little bit each month
Yeah.
or each week or whatever. Try, be sensible with your money.
Keeping track of your money as well, I think.
Yeah.
Like, rather than just like forgetting about it, just worrying about it, make sure you're on top of like
Yeah.
what you're spending and what's coming into you. You don't stress as much. You know exactly what's going on, and I feel like that was probably the biggest help for me.
So, I retired about 7 years ago. My wife carried on working for her reason, and I bought my house so that was how I saved a lot of money.
Deliveroo last year, so every
Yeah,
time I
okay.
come coming in from that.
jobs like that.
Actually, Deliveroo, if like for a student,
It's really good.
I loved it. Like,
Yeah.
I love being out on my bike, headphones on, making money sort of thing.
I reckon it's quite difficult for people. A lot of people I find now are more in debt, and they, or they go out and kind of buy the latest phone that costs 600 quid, and wonder where their next rent's coming from, and they just bought a phone for 600 quid because of the fashion of the world. Well, sell your phone then, mate. You know what I mean? It's kind of like,
And there you have it, some small tips on how you can save money. I must say, the people you spoke to, Cara, it seemed like they've been perfecting their money-saving tips for years.
Well, it does sound like it, doesn't it? But I believe that we are now going to cut to our CCI newsroom where our news anchors have some tips of their very own to help you save money.
Thank you guys. Welcome to this special news report.
We are here to tell you guys the best way to save money in 2018. So the first tip that I can give is to cook instead of eating out. Cooking a full meal instead of buying fast food is healthier and cheaper, and it can sometimes taste a lot nicer.
Depends how good you are at cooking. The next tip is to stay loyal to your shops. Get loyalty cards for certain shops so you can gain points and rewards when you next visit. It's really worth it. And the third tip is to buy in bulk. The best thing to do is to plan weeks in advance and buy loads of toiletries and non-perishables once you get a payday. Then you will always have something to eat or use if you ever run out of money.
Another tip is to start selling. If you have some old clothes or electronics you don't use anymore, then you could sell them online and get a little bit of extra money. Next, never go food shopping when hungry. You'll be tempted to buy more food than you initially went out for. It is a terrible idea to go shopping when you haven't eaten all day.
I do it all the time. I've definitely been guilty of it. So I always make sure to go to the supermarket on a full stomach. But a tip that's always helped me is to cook in bulk. That way you can freeze your meals for another day and save money.
Speaking of freezing, buy frozen vegetables as they taste the same and are just as fresh and last longer. And finally, our best tip is to try and discipline yourself. By ensuring you don't waste your money and you budget correctly, you will save money in the long run.
Those are the best money-saving solutions to your life. So hopefully you are well informed on how to get the most bang for your buck.
That's all from us here at the CCI Newsroom. Enjoy the rest of the show.
Thank you, guys. Now, the UK economy has been a running theme throughout the show, but what is the UK economy like now?
Well, since Britain will be venturing out on their own very soon, the future of the UK economy is not definitive, with the pound decreasing in value and prices rising in shops. Who knows how the country will end up?
Some believe that austerity is about to come to an end and that people will be coming out of this period of uncertainty.
Whilst others believe we won't come out of austerity, where the government will continue to trigger spending cuts and raise taxes.
To find out more about austerity, we are joined in the studio by Wolfgang, a senior lecturer of economics here at the University of Portsmouth. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you very much.
So just to clarify for ourselves and for anyone in the audience watching, what is austerity?
Well, austerity basically means that the government is running a structured program to decrease their deficit. So the government is making an income, mostly from taxes, and is spending the money, on infrastructure, on schools, on the NHS. And the austerity means that they're running a deficit, so they're spending more than what they're taking in. So they're trying to cut the spending or trying to increase the income by increasing taxes.
Okay, I see.
So how does austerity affect the economy?
Well, in the current status, we're mostly cutting what we're spending. So the effects are quite direct. So the NHS is getting less money, social programs are getting less money, there's less money from the government directly spent on the economy, which is of course putting economic pressure on many groups in the economy.
And to move on to that, in terms of how it affects different people, is it different depending on your age or your social class in terms of how austerity can affect you?
Well, mostly of course the government spending affects the poorer groups in the economy because these are the groups who are getting direct benefits from the government. So when government spending is cut, these groups will be directly affected. You can also make the argument that older populations are affected more because they are using the healthcare system to a larger extent. So when there is spending cuts on the healthcare system, those groups will be affected more than younger groups who are usually not using the healthcare system that much.
So it's not necessarily the same effect it has on everyone,
No,
it's quite widespread as well. Yeah.
Yes, but you can always certainly identify certain groups that will be affected more strongly, and it's usually the elderly and the poorer groups in the economy.
Okay.
Well, how can you explain how austerity has changed over the years? Is there a huge history of austerity?
Well, that depends on, as long as governments, or even if we go back to kings and queens, have been spending money, there have been periods in time when they've cut back those spendings or increased taxes. I think you can say that austerity, as we understand it, started in the late 17th, early 18th century, when we've got the first records of really a structured austerity program by the government. So I would say that's how far we date back on that.
Okay.
Currently, the austerity program we are in is lasting about the last 10 years now, so started in 2009-10.
Okay. And moving on to the present day, austerity, it seems like quite a serious subject. Is it something that people know enough about, or is it something they should know more about?
I think there's a lot in the press because it's a governmental program, so it's a policy program, so there's a lot of information. I think the topic in itself is not that difficult, because it really just means that the government is either raising taxes or cutting the spending, or mostly both. So I think there's enough information. What the current debate is about is the effects that we said. Who is affected most? And as we are currently, at least officially, moving away from a program of austerity, whether the groups that have been negatively affected will now benefit from these reduction of austerity measures.
Do you think young people know enough about austerity? Because I personally don't know all that much. Obviously, you teach in economics.
Yes.
Would you say other students at the university know enough, or how can they know more?
Teaching at the university, I would say young people don't know enough about the economy in total, and of course not about governmental programs like austerity. I think the government is making some effort to bring more information, especially to younger people, but I think there needs to be more information given out and more interest from the younger population. Because even if you're saying I'm a student now, I'm not that much involved in the economy, you will be in the future, so it really affects you more than older generations, I would say.
Yeah, and I think it's a case of trying to get people to care more about it, I suppose, yeah. Do you know how people might go about doing that in terms of, gaining an interest?
I think it's the same with all governmental programs. There should be more engagement in social media, for example. I know that there are many programs trying to do that, but especially the economic programs, because many people think it's boring and it's too complicated, are not that much conveyed via social media, which is, of course, the channels that young people use mostly, I guess.
Yeah, and you've mentioned it briefly, but in terms of obviously what we're talking about in the show, do you think we are coming out of austerity?
That's a topic for much of debate recently, because there was an announcement in October by the government that said we're going to end the austerity measures. On the other hand, many people claim this is not much more than an announcement, because in 2015 there were further spending cuts announced, and at the present moment we are only up about 25% into those spending cuts. So even though government says the time of austerity is over, they're going to continue with quite severe cuts of spending in the next few years. So I would say maybe it's a milder form, but we're definitely not out of the austerity phase right now.
Okay, I see.
Interesting
Yeah.
to know.
I mean, we'll have to see how it kind of changes in the future, because obviously we could go right into talking about how Brexit would affect
Yes,
Yeah.
of course.
the country in terms of spending
Yeah.
and that. I assume that's something that you've been following.
Yeah, I mean, Brexit is going to have a very clear impact, because if you think about it, there's many areas of spending in the economy, and one area is the government spending, and another one is imports and exports. So after the times of Brexit, of course, we're going to, of course is a strong word, it's expected that we lose a part of the export spending. So if we, in addition to that, lose more of the governmental spending, there's less and less money in the economy. So the effects of austerity would be even more severe after Brexit.
Okay, well, like I said, we'll have to see what happens in the future.
Yes, thank you
But,
for educating us.
Yes, thank you very much for coming on the show today. Really appreciate talking to you.
Of course.
And discussing the whole topic of austerity.
Yes, well, we hope you've enjoyed the show and learned about what the economy actually is.
Next week, be sure to tune in to Express FM for the start of a series of radio shows from final year television and broadcasting students. The first show will cover what's on in December around Portsmouth. It's definitely something to look forward to.
You can watch this show again on YouTube. Just type in CCI channel and we'll be there.
Don't forget to follow our Facebook and Twitter pages. The links are on your screen now.
Thank you for joining us and take care.
Until next time, goodbye.